Breaking tonight, Secretary of State John Kerry just issuing a statement on Malaysia Air on this flight shot down over Ukraine, killing 298 people. Secretary Kerry saying in part, quote, "We are reviewing whether any American citizens were aboard this flight. The U.S. government remains prepared to assist with a credible international investigation any way we can, and we will continue to be in touch with all relevant partners as we seek the facts of what happened today," talking about how we are horrified by this crash, and there are no words to adequately express our condolences. Sources say this airplane was brought down by a surface-to-air missile as the U.S. continues to work on finding exactly where that missile was fired from and who fired it. A big question on everyone's mind tonight: what is the U.S. prepared to do about it? Retired four-star General Jack Keane is a former Vice Army Chief of Staff and a Fox News military analyst. General, good to see you tonight. And so, do you have any doubts that this is a surface-to-air missile?
Oh, absolutely not. And I don't think there's probably much doubt about that the pro-Russian separatists are the likely culprits who fired this thing. They, as you pointed out earlier in the program, they've shot down two other aircraft this week, and they were sort of proud of the fact that they shot this one down until they found out it was an airliner.
And so do you believe this has the fingerprints of Vladimir Putin on it, or that this is sort of a rogue group of folks who are pro-Russian in the Ukraine, and they're not really taking their orders from Putin on something like this?
Listen, our audience really has to understand this, because this is a very important point. Putin is fighting a proxy war. He was able to intimidate and use that proxy war in Crimea to annex it. The Ukrainians are pushing back, so he's got his FSB, which are his intelligence people. He's got his special ops leaders. These are officers in eastern Ukraine leading a movement to undermine that part of that country's government and to take control of it. This is a proxy war that he's watched the Iranians do quite successfully for 30 years, and his objective is a redesign of the international order, particularly as it applies to Russia. So the focus should be on Putin and Russia.
But when you say that, what does that mean? Because right now Putin's saying it was Ukrainians. Reports are that the people we believe did it have already taken the black boxes and are on their way to Moscow with them. Unconfirmed, but that's what we're being told. We're not going to get any legitimate investigation into this thing out of Russia. So how do we do any of that?
Well, I think, the technology will allow us to be able to confirm where that missile was launched from and who was in that vicinity. So I think we're going to be able to get our fingerprints on where that came from and who's likely to do it. I think the circumstantial evidence is already there, Megan. It's quite overwhelming. And I believe we should hear the clarion call from the United States over this. Not just moral outrage and condemnation, but finally, what are we going to do about it? And you asked that question. And certainly, the Ukrainians for months have been asking us for military technology, for equipment, and for training to assist them with this proxy war that Putin is fighting against them. And we have denied that to them. We should also put troops in other parts of Europe, significantly more than what we did, to help guarantee the safety and security of those countries so Putin does not get overly aggressive about it. Certainly, missile defense, where we took it out of, should be put back in again in Eastern Europe. And listen, Megan, given what we've been talking about for the last 3 weeks with ISIS on the move in the Middle East and the chaos and upheaval in the Middle East and an aggressive and assertive China, we have got to stop the decimation that's taken place with the United States military and returning it to pre-World War II numbers, which makes no sense whatsoever.
I mean, you heard it from a Democrat tonight, Carl Levin, saying that this certainly looks like an act of war. General Jack Keane, good to see you.
Always good talking to Megan.